Hi there, it gives us great pleasure to be able to introduce some of the highlights of the CRC Field-Based Propagation Working Group. My name's David Suggett. I'm a professor here in the University of Technology, Sydney, and I chair the Propagation Working Group with Caitlin Lustic from the Nature Conservancy. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the Field-Based Working Group, importantly, we're a collection of practitioners, managers, scientists, and enthusiasts all around the world, and really interested in sharing the rapidly accelerating knowledge that we're all gaining in effective propagation. Initially, the working group really was catalyzed through the large community in the Caribbean, focusing on restoring the acroporids. But of course, this has recently grown to include the large communities growing in the Indo-Pacific Red Sea and elsewhere, really looking to rehabilitate sites across the world. And we have lots of synergies with other working groups, of course. Outplanting requires monitoring our sites. Innovative new tools for propagation and planting is inherently connected to engineering. And of course, a lot of the state-of-the-art developments that we see in the activities are connected to our regional working groups, for example, in Latin America and Australia. And currently, our field-based objectives for the working group are focusing on increasing restoration efficiency, of course, as we are accelerating our efforts. Focusing on scale and cost effectiveness has been critical, and this really carries threefold: looking to increase the diversity of propagated corals beyond the acroporids, articulate the benefits of really combining what we do across multiple platforms of propagation to be more effective as a sort of holistic enterprise, and finally increasing our outplant efficiency to really increase scale and cost effectiveness. And historically, for the working group up until now, the main focus has been producing a comprehensive guide to field-based restoration. In the past, several guides have been produced, and here are some examples that are really focused on local and tailored methods. And really what we've aimed to do is build together a much more collective and comprehensive guide to really deliver comprehensive state-of-the-art understanding, but also importantly, a platform that's dynamic, flexible, and that can be really used to tailor practices to any given context or practitioner. So digging into the guide itself, just to give you a bit of a flavor, and this is still ongoing, it's through the final stages of being prepared. It was really to grow beyond the regionally focused Caribbean efforts into the global audience, really track tried and true methods versus more innovative techniques that are growing literally by the month. Of course, flexibility to make changes over time without the intensive review process that can really drag out how quickly innovations are adopted. And then finally, providing enough detail so that practitioners don't reinvent the wheel, but also have enough detail to be able to tailor approaches to their own needs and goals. And all of this was developed through a core select group of lead authors, and many others have fed into the process ultimately, that's really built in state-of-the-art knowledge from around the world. I'm now going to hand over to Caitlin, who's going to really talk about some of the other resource highlights that have been developed through this process.
Thanks, David. I'm going to talk about one of the other products that we've been working on that should be ready to be released soon. So we're currently working on these nursery structure design one-pagers. And eventually the guide and the one-pagers will reference each other, but we want to get these one-pagers out quickly. So we're going to get those out likely before the guide is fully published. The basic structure of these is like a recipe. So the front has a photo and description of the design. And then it also has information about the size of the structure and conditions for which it was built. And so we thought this was really important because it allows us to include the exact supplies needed and details of construction. But then practitioners can make changes based on their different depths, bottom types, or wave conditions at any given site. So on the inside, we have an infographic that shows each supply and how many of those are needed. And then a supplies needed table gives the details of how to prepare each supply. So similar to how a recipe would say half an onion diced, it gives the information of how to prepare each supply. And the details of construction and installation explain the steps to build the structure, install it, and add corals. And then on the back, we've included some lessons learned for each structure and a QR code that can be scanned for additional information. Where there are published methods for building and using these structures, the code will take the reader to those published methods. We also plan to add QR codes throughout the one-pagers once the guide is published to link sections to sections of the guide so that people can easily find information about certain things. Like, so for example, if they needed to use a different kind of anchor, it would link straight to a table that shows which kinds of anchors work in different substrates. And so this set of one-pagers can more easily be edited and added to over time, which was important to us. It gives us a little more flexibility to expand on nursery designs and applications without revisiting and modifying the entire guide. So we currently have 10 different structures outlined, and we hope to add more in the future. And finally, we wanted to plug a webinar that we'll be hosting tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. The purpose of the webinar is to provide the details of collecting, fragmenting, rearing, and outplanting non-acroprid species, where there's less information available in the scientific literature. And we have a panel of experts from around the world, and you can visit the URL there for the Reef Resilience Network for more information. And finally, we'd love to bring more people into the working group. And if you're interested in joining us, you can email either myself or David at the email addresses shown on the screen there. Thank you.